Welcome back. Welcome back. This is What's Up, Doc. My name is Doc Durden. And guess who we have? So excited today. We have in the house, we have Wes Francis. All right. A lot of you know Wes Francis. He's certainly been around Virginia City many years. And I'm happy to be able to call him my friend. Before we get to Wes, though, yep, you guessed it. We have to do a little advertising right here, all right? We got to talk about my sponsors. And there's Wainema Ranch, all right? I've been talking about this for a long time, but it is serious business. It's a sanctuary for the wild horses, all right? The Mustangs that we see roaming around Nevada that we all love and enjoy. I mean, that's a sanctuary. They could have anywhere from 100 to 200 to 300 head of horses out there, and it it takes a special person to be able to spend hours and hours each day of the care and feeding of these wild Mustangs. It's a lifelong choice of occupation, and they do it extremely well. And I'm very, very proud to say that both Shari and Eddie are my friends, and they do an excellent job with the wild Mustangs. Again, I've told you about it. I live in Virginia City, and I have a deck that I built out there by the front door, which is now my front door. It's actually the side door, but no, it's the front door. My front door. Inaccessible. I don't know why. But anyway, I'll be out there, especially in the spring, summer, and fall, where the weather is nice, and I just absolutely love it out there, having coffee, and there'll be the horses just walk on by. All right, the horses just walking on by, and there'd be like 5, 6, 7 horses at a time, and then the following week there'll be different little band of horses, and also deers. Yeah, there'd be 4, 5, 6 deer walking by. It's just amazing for me, and I just absolutely love it, and I love the fact that Wainema Ranch takes care of these animals. And if you'd like to be a volunteer, be part of the Wainema Ranch, please go to their webpage. Their webpage is wainemaranch.com. And actually, I'm featuring them on my business page, which is a Wild West Festival. Go ahead and you punch on that. And I took that post from the Reno Tahoe magazine. All right, the Reno Tahoe magazine. All right, I've talked about them for the last 6 months, and I'm hoping that they're going to sponsor me this year. And so anyway, I took that post from that magazine, and it's on one of my business pages, and that's happens to be Wild West Festival. So you can go ahead and click on it. Also, go to their webpage. In the back, you'll see how you can volunteer, and also if you care to donate. It's always welcome. Volunteers are always welcome. Absolutely. There's a lot to be done. So we'd like to have you out there. And also, there's a donation page. I want you to seriously take a look at that too. Okay. That's Wainema Ranch. All right. Thank you. All right, and again, when I talked about Reno Tahoe magazine, all right, extensively, we talked about Reno Tahoe magazine last year, and guess what? 2020, best magazine 2020, Reno Tahoe. All right, it don't get any better than that. How wonderful is that? All right, let's move on to the Great Basin Highway magazine. All right, I was on the cover of that for the last 3 months. I'm no longer on the cover. All right, here we are. This picture was taken in Winnemucca, and I took the picture. This is my picture. I'm looking for the credits. I don't see the credits. Cameron Hawkins, publisher. All right, he says that he's going to go ahead and make that correction. All right, that's not a big deal, but the fact is that I love the picture. It's a nice picture. All right, and that's in Winnemucca. All right, and that's Cameron there talking business. All right, this fella here, he owns I can't tell you how many hundreds and hundreds of acres out there in Winnemucca. Yeah, I'm actually back here on page 4748. 4748. There I am, right there. If you care to know anything about what I've been doing lately, okay, yeah, there's the trophy. All right, best picture right there. All right, and And the next, then I'm on page 48. All right, page 48. All right, that's the book that Sandy Lene wrote for me. All right, how cool is that? I like it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, and talking about the book, here's the book right here. All right, Doc Durden, a living legend, living his dream, and I do every day. I do. All right, author Sandy Lene. Sandy Lene. You can get this book off of my webpage, www.docdurden.com. That's my webpage. You need to go visit because it's done extremely well. Cameron Hawkins, all right, he put my webpage up. And I've had several webpages, but not like this one. This one here is absolutely the best I've ever had, and I love it, love it, love it. All right, so if you care to purchase this book, you can go on my webpage, and or you can go on my personal page, Doc Durden, on Facebook, and there's an old picture that was taken in 1998, and I talk about the ranch and talk about how you can purchase the book that has all those pictures in it, and it has Sandy Lene's webpage on there too, so you can take a look at that. All right, and our numbers are good. Our numbers are big, all right? And for anybody that'd like to sponsor this segment, What's Up, Doc, I'd like to have you get in touch with Eddie Floyd. Eddie Floyd happens to be my partner. And he says, no, Doc, he said, you have them call me personally, all right? And I'm going to give you my cell phone, all right? Now I'm going to give it to you, all right? 775-384-4444. And that's Eddie Floyd's number. He's the founder of American Matters, all right? And so if you're having any interest at all of sponsoring this program, and our numbers are, two shows to go. Numbers are 13,245 so far. And the last show, we're probably going to exceed that. So our numbers are pretty big. And so in other words, you can't go wrong if you want to go ahead and sponsor this segment. And we're going to break. It's about time, right? Okay. When we come back, we're talking to Wes Francis. Come on back. All right. All right. Back to the show. I heard it. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for coming back. This is What's Up, Doc. My name is Doc Durden, and guess who we have today? All right, I hope that you're listening at the beginning, at the top of the show. We have Wes Francis here today on my show. What a resume this man has. Now, I know a lot of you people out there, you know Wes Francis, you hung out with him and everything, but there's a lot of stuff that you don't know about Wes. You know, he's a team player. He loves people. He's an ordained minister. He's with the Silent Riders.
Correct. One of the founding fathers.
One of the founding fathers. Yes. And that goes along with Brian, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And one of the founding fathers, which I didn't know, of the Silent Riders, and an organization that well, I'm gonna let him talk all about that. I just want to introduce him and get this show on the road. Wes Francis, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, very, very welcome. You have so many fans out there that want to know a little bit more about you, and I would like to know, as a lot of my guests, is where you grew up at.
Nevada. I was born in Southern California, but my parents moved us out into the middle of nowhere when I was a kid, and so since 1975, Nevada's been my home.
Oh, 77.
75.
75. Yeah. Okay, 75, Nevada.
Correct.
Nevada. And do you talk about California at all?
I try not to.
You try not to. Okay. Well, we won't go there. All right. So from 1975, Wes Francis has been in Nevada. And when you arrived in Nevada, what did you do?
I was still in school. I was only 11 years old. And we moved out to a little valley called Fish Springs Valley down in Douglas County.
Oh, mm-hmm.
No phones, no TV except for the antenna, but we didn't really need it because we got a bunch of animals and started raising cows and pigs and all the stuff that a country boy would do. And of course, back then I thought that was the most miserable thing my family could have done to me, and now it's the best thing they could have ever done for us.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yes.
Exactly right. Many people have said the same thing. They didn't realize at the time how this would affect you later on. And it kept you balanced. It kept you solid. And I love hearing that. I love hearing that. Another thing. Well, there's a lot of things I haven't that we're going to find out about Wes and. And so you went to school in the same neighborhood?
Douglas High School.
Douglas High School, yes.
Yeah, class of 82.
Class of 82, all righty.
There's a few people out there that are probably watching, and I just can't see it. That,
yeah.
We all graduated together, and we've come back together over the years. It's pretty neat.
No, that's good. I like that. I can't say that that's happened to me, but I would foster the idea. Absolutely.
It's pretty incredible.
It is cool. Isn't that cool?
Yes.
Yeah. And after you graduated, then what happened?
Well, like I said, when we first moved to Nevada, I didn't think that was the greatest thing that ever happened to us. And so when I graduated, I was only 17 years old. I kind of pulled a fast one on my mom and had her sign paperwork for me to go see the Air Force recruiter and get my physical, and that also signed a release for me to go to boot camp at 17 years old.
All right, so she gave the release at 17.
Yes.
And that's what you wanted to do.
That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. So, United States Air Force at the age of 17 going through boot camp.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. All right, how anything interesting happened while you were in the Navy? I'm sure that while you spent I'm sure 10 years. Is that correct? You spent 10 years
sir.
in the Navy. So there's something
Air Force.
Excuse
Air
me.
Force.
Yes, that is the Air Force, and I knew that. Me being old and everything, this stuff slips out.
I don't really care, but I have listeners out there. That
Yeah,
were in the Navy.
exactly. And I, here, Paul, I know, and I do the same thing with Paul. And Paul Garrett's here also. He's on camera, on camcorder. All right, yeah. So in the Air Force for those 10 years, what was some of the highlights?
Oh, man, I had a lot. I kind of lucked out and ended up working on helicopters, which was Air Force Air Rescue and Crash Recovery. Unbeknownst to me, it was going to be some of the funnest times of my life, as well as a couple of the scariest times. We lived in Okinawa, Japan for 4 years.
Wow.
I got to get put on flying status, which meant I grabbed my toolbox and jumped on the helicopter and went out with it, which also led to almost crashing into the ocean one night. And we're very thankful that the Lord brought us back.
Yes.
That was a happy night.
Yes.
Lots of good times, lots of good memories. Traveled around the world for 10 years, and like I said, we lived in Okinawa, which was just a tropical wonder. Scuba diving a lot, and started my family, and things went really good there. And came back and spent a few years in Florida at the First Special Operations Headquarters, and that was all during Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
And what part of Florida is that?
Field, Florida, up in the Panhandle.
Panhandle,
Yeah,
okay.
Not too far from Pensacola.
Okay, all right, yeah.
So, I got a lot of good training and experience and life experience more than anything.
Sure.
My wife, God bless her, she's been with me for 37 years.
37 years.
Yes, yeah.
All right, good going. Yeah, his wife's out there in the lobby here. 37 years. Good for you.
Almost my whole military time and 22 years of law enforcement. That's a tough woman.
That is a tough woman. Exactly. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen in law enforcement. So to cap off your Air Force experience, what was the kind of last thing that you remember?
Oh man, the scariness of signing the paperwork and having my ID card cut up and walking out that gate.
Yeah.
It was a turnover. I originally planned on making the Air Force a 20-year career and retiring at the whopping age of 37 years old and starting something else.
Sure.
Family back home, which also all live right out here in this area. Family called me back home. There were some things that happened that it was just time.
Yeah.
And so we came home and started a new career, and everything's been great.
Yeah, and that's just talks volumes of Wes. He gets a phone call and there's family concerns. All right, and he's going to make a career in the Air Force. All right, and so this is something that he's really excited about. But no, he has a family that he has to take care of. So that's pretty much what he does today. All right, he's one of those nice guys that he's committed to whatever he does, and whatever he says he's going to do. So, that's what I enjoy about Wes. All right, so you left the Air Force a little bit earlier than you expected. You took care of family business, and then after that, what did Wes do?
Well, I came back to Lyon County, which is where my parents had moved to, and again, unbeknownst to me and not knowing what was going to happen, I went and tested with the Lyon County Sheriff's Department just to see if I could cut it as a deputy sheriff. And out of over 30 people that tested that day, I came out number 1 on the list and got hired right on the spot.
On the spot. Love it. Love it.
In June of 1991, I started my career in law enforcement with the Lyon County Sheriff's Department.
Not only is he a good-looking man, he's got brains too. How's that happen? How's that happen? Never know.
I might not always remember where they are. But.
Yeah. All right. So he aces the test here, and he's number 1. He gets hired on the spot. All right. That doesn't happen too often, as you all know. And so what happened then?
Oh, that started a whole new life and a whole new career. We lived down in Yerington for a little while, and I went through all their training and through the academy, and eventually, within about 2 years, it transferred up to Dayton, still Lyon County, but a different part. That's where my parents were living, and the whole idea was to come home and be close to them. Mm-hmm. So we transferred up to Dayton, and
well, before we go to Dayton, now you're in Yerington, you're going through training. Now, this is a tough little thing to go through, is the training of any, a military and or law enforcement. So this was this difficult for you?
I think I probably made it more difficult than it really should have been, just because of the stress level of, I got a family that I got to take care of, and if I don't do this, I'm not going to be able to feed them.
Yeah.
And so there was that added stress to it. Physically, I was in good shape. I made sure I kept myself that way from what I did before, and so I was in good shape, and mental health and all that. I felt pretty confident about it, but yeah, it was hard at times physically, but it was very hard mentally, keeping up with all the training, and the academy was full-time for several months. So I was living in Carson City at the academy during the week, and then we got to come home and be with my family on the weekends.
Ah, okay.
So that was, back then, I think it was about 16 weeks.
16 weeks. I was just going to ask you the length of time. But 16 weeks of law enforcement training in Yerington. All right. And you were physically fit and you were mentally fit too. But of course, you being responsible and everything, there was always that little thing going on in the back of your head that I have to do this because I have a family that's counting on me, and I have to put beans on the table and shelter over their heads. And I understand exactly where you're at on that. When I was employed, I thought the same thing, is that I have to continue with this job. That's the reason why I spent 35 years with Ford Motor Company. I didn't let people get the best of me, where I get angry and quit, and then what? Then I'm out looking for the same job somewhere else. Right. I never thought that was a good thing to do. All right, we're going to break. All right, this is interesting. I love it, love it, love it. We're going to break, and we're coming back with Wes Francis. All right, this is What's Up, Doc. All right, come on back. All right, we're back. This is What's Up, Doc. My name is Doc Durden, and Wes Francis here today on this show. All right, and we've had a couple of calls come in through my phone. All right, normally I don't use this phone, but anyway, if you like to call in, please use this number. We'd like to hear from you. 844-790-8255. If you like to call in, you want to talk to Francis, Wes, Francis, and you have a question, let's do that. 844-790-8255. We'd love to talk to you. All right. And where we left off was Dayton. All right, now we're going to Dayton. That's it. All right. So you went through 16 weeks of training, and you went through that with flying colors, I'm sure. So now we're going to Dayton. All right, that's where we're at.
Went to Dayton and got the first ever official Lyon County Sheriff's Department K-9. So I became the first K-9 officer of the county.
No kidding.
He was a tracking and narcotics dog. So we spent a lot of
What
time
breed was that dog?
It was a golden retriever.
A golden retriever.
Beautiful
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah.
His name was Caesar. I got to give him his name. So I spelled it with the combination of seizing something and Caesar, like the Roman emperor.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So that was his
cool.
name. He had some power, and he also could accomplish getting things seized, and that's what we were out there doing, was trying to clean stuff up.
Yeah. So he was... was he a good sniffer for a lot of different items, or?
He was.
Yeah. And what was kind of like the biggest bust
Oh man, with him, I had him about a year or a little over a year, and we experienced some complications with him as far as health goes. So we ended up sending him back. But we had some that led into some pretty good stuff. Nothing really big, but vehicle seizures, arrests. We were called a couple of times to go up to Fernley because the DEA was working the interstate up there, and they'd stopped a car and didn't have a way to search it without the dog, so they'd call me to come up there and do that kind of stuff.
Right.
And, of course, in the midst of all that, I was right before I left Yerington and came up to Dayton, I volunteered to be on the SWAT team, and I also asked if I could become a range master. Well, the range master came to me and asked me if I would be one of his assistants, and so I said, yes, I guess I could do that. And so I said, I'll put in for both of them, and maybe I'll get one, and things will be good. And literally the same day, the day I got off of probation, my 1 year mark, the range master walked in and looked at me and said, hey, congratulations, you're my newest member of the range staff. And right behind him, the SWAT commander walked in and threw me a pager and said, congratulations, you're the newest member of the SWAT team. And so that all kicked off. And then probably within about 6 months of that was when I put some stuff together and presented it to the sheriff and said, I think we need a canine. And he agreed, so they sent me to Texas for a few weeks to get trained with the dog and come back and start doing that as well.
Was this Caesar still or another
yes,
dog?
That was Caesar.
That was Caesar. And so you were in SWAT for 6 months before you went to the training?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Well, okay. Now SWAT this is no joke type of department to be in.
Not at all.
No. Yeah. So I know there's probably things that you can't talk about, but what are some of the things that you can talk about being a SWAT member?
Lots of discipline, lots of training, lots of brotherhood.
Yes.
And lots of risk.
Yes.
Lots of risk.
Yeah.
Some people have seen it and don't realize what it is, and so I'll put it out there for the listeners that maybe have seen it, especially those that have been around me, because I have it displayed in a couple of places. And that is the number 1 with the asterisk symbol, and it has a blue line running through the background behind it. And people ask me what that means, and I said, well, I was on the SWAT team, and we all came together as a team, but there was always one asterisk. I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that.
I got it.
So that's kind of a universal symbol. Now, if you pay
is
attention, you'll see it on a lot of law.
Okay, now I'll know what that is. That's interesting.
So that was our job. We were putting it out there on the line every day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, of course, the only thing I know about SWAT is what I see on TV, and I know that some of these SWAT programs and everything, they get pretty authentic. So what do you think? Is that kind of like how when you get into a sticky situation to where SWAT is actually called for? What I see on TV, is that kind of like, or I know they sensationalize, but
yeah, they definitely sensationalize.
Okay, yeah.
And what you see on TV, you got to remember that's like L.A. SWAT, New York SWAT.
Yeah.
They have full-time SWAT teams. That's all they do.
All they do, yeah.
Is train and respond.
Okay.
The SWAT team that I was part of, we worked our regular duties. I was a patrol deputy.
Okay.
I went out and answered calls and did my normal job 8 or 10 hours a day, depending on what the shift was, and obviously sometimes longer days than that.
Sure.
And then in between that, we found time to train. And if we were on duty when a call came out, obviously we'd be the first ones there. Those that were on duty, but then we had to wait for the rest of our team that was at home to get there and dress out and go handle something. So we couldn't be on something as fast as a city department.
Right.
We're spread out, big county.
Yeah.
So we also had to train for that as well.
And how many SWAT members did you have in your department?
We tried to keep 12 on the
12.
team at all times.
Okay, all right.
There was times that we were up to 14, 15, and those were, we'd have our 12 primary team, and then a couple standbys in case somebody didn't make it.
Okay.
Most of the time, if we were doing operations like a search warrant or something like that, our standard team was about 6 to 8.
Yeah, and with that, you think, oh wow, 12, okay, maybe you don't really need that, but where there's numbers, there's well, you're more secure with numbers and also more intimidating too.
Right.
As far as apprehending a bandit, if you will, when there's like about 12 or 15 SWAT members out there, that's pretty intimidating. And without shots being fired, can you kind of bring them in just because they're intimidated like that?
We of course there was multiples, but there's one in particular that comes to mind right away when you mention it. It was a homicide fugitive out of California, had made his way out to Dayton of all places, and he found somebody out there to hold up with. They had a small studio apartment on the back of their property, and the intelligence from California had tracked him down, and so they came to us and said, this guy's a terrible person. He has murdered people and videotaped it and put it out there for people to watch, and
wow.
He was just a real bad character.
That's a bad guy.
And so we went out there. We were out about 3 o'clock in the morning before the sun came out, in about 15-degree temperatures, staged and sitting and waiting for the sun to come up so we could hit the place.
Yeah.
When I say 12, like I said, there was maybe 6 that actually went and made an entry.
Right.
If it was really good, we'd have 8, and then we'd have a couple perimeter. And then we also had designated marksmen, which were on long guns further out. And they were our eyes, because we couldn't always see what was going on.
Right.
So they would also go out there and deploy. There's a lot more to it than a lot of people ever see.
Yeah.
I would say the newest TV show that's out, I think it's L.A. SWAT. And I don't remember, I think the program is actually called SWAT, but it's based out of L.A. A lot of the stuff they do is pretty realistic.
Yeah.
But we didn't have the access to the equipment that they do and some of the things they do. And of course, it's definitely embellished a little bit.
Yeah. Now, see, this is all amazing stuff that you don't hear about West Francis. All right. This is the reason why I love what I do, is that we kind of start at the root right here, and look at here. It's just incredible stuff that Wes has been doing. And so now that now we're going to go ahead and step forward here a little bit and go forward with a retirement of law enforcement. And then what happened?
Oh man. Well, before I made it to retirement, I left the county and went to the state.
Mm-hmm.
I was on loan to the state for 2 years and then got hired by the state. That took me into undercover narcotics. So I worked undercover narcotics for a while.
Now that scares me. That scares me immediately. Now, you're going to have to go into that.
For me, it was the funnest part of my whole career.
No kidding.
There was definitely some hairy times. There were some scary times. A lot of the agencies nowadays don't actually send officers in undercover. They use informants. But there was a few cases that it was necessary to put an officer in there, and I was the first one to raise my hand because I loved it.
Really? Wow.
Something I don't talk about a lot.
No,
and I'm not going to get into it a ton, but when my wife and I met, I was in the service on active duty, and there was a serious drug problem on that base. And I got wrapped up in it, and it almost destroyed me.
Yep.
And because of her.
Yes. And yes, and it takes a strong woman.
Yes.
Absolutely.
She pulled me out of it and pulled my head out literally. And And then when I went into law enforcement, I decided I was going to use that to try to help other people. So
good.
There's a few people that I'm not going to name names, obviously, but I can remember their first and last name that I arrested them, and then over the course of their adventure and getting clean and getting back to a normal life and living with their families and having their kids at home and stuff like that, they decided that they really liked me for what I did, even though they didn't like me the day
at the time. Not at the time. No, heck no.
So I did that for about 6 years.
Yeah.
When I was working undercover, I got introduced to I'll just say somebody from a large organization that was responsible for a lot of the drugs coming into the area, and quite in depth infiltrated their group. Which resulted in record seizures in the Carson City, Reno area. But it never hit the news because we kept running with it. The DEA was leading it, and you know how that kind of stuff goes. But I had some fun and took some big cases and some big players, and then moved into suit and tie, major crimes, homicide, political corruption, stuff like that. And then my last step before I retired was back out on uniform patrol with the Highway Patrol Division in Reno.
Yeah. And what you may not know right now is that Wes, he has his eyes are watering up because of the passion he has. All right, and I know what he's feeling. All right, come on back. We're going to change it up a little bit. All right, this is Wes Francis' show. Come on back. All right, welcome back. All right, this is our final segment. We're running out of time. This is What's Up, Doc. My name is Doc Durden, and this is Wes Francis' show. Let me tell you, this is absolutely wonderful. A lot of stuff that obviously I did not know about Wes, but now we're going to change it up because I want to know why in the world would you become a cowboy? How'd that happen?
I think I felt like I became a cowboy just because of the same reason a lot of people do. You fall in love with Virginia City, and there's tons and tons of reasons that I'm attached to that place now. But talking about Knott's Berry Farm when I was a kid and going there and seeing those cowboys, and then moving out to Nevada in the middle of nowhere and farming animals and having a garden and starting to live a cowboy life, it was really brought to perspective for me one day when I was sitting talking to old Larry Canale. There ain't nobody up there, I don't think, that doesn't know who he is. And he's one of those people that I consider a real, honest-to-God, lifetime true cowboy.
Yep.
And I looked at him one day and I said, "Yeah, Larry, you're a real cowboy. I'm not." He looked at me and he said, "Why do you say that?" I said, "I've never ridden the fences. I've never gone out there and run the herds. I've never done the stuff that you've done." He goes, "But you don't understand. A real cowboy is in your heart, not what you did." And that really hit home. There's a lot of truth to that. And that's who I surround myself with people that have it in their heart.
Sure.
Even if they don't dress like it. You know, we all know what a cowboy way of life is if that's what we stand for. And, you know, that's just America. That's
right.
What it is.
That's
we
right.
take care of each other.
Yeah.
Handshake is a
That's the true code, and that's when you're a cowboy. I grew up with Gene Autry code, Roy Rogers code, and they're all about the same, right? Absolutely, yeah.
So when I retired, I decided I was going to keep teaching firearms. I did that at the police academy and everything before I retired. And so I started the company up and had a little bit of free time on my hands, and we started spending a little more time up in Virginia City. And now when somebody asks us if we live in Virginia City, my wife's response is, "Well, yes, we do. Yes. We just sleep in Dayton."
Yes, exactly right.
We spend most of our time up there.
Yes.
And I just got more and more and more absorbed into it and found the joy that it gives everybody to see us up there walking the town, walking the walk, talking the talk, shaking hands, taking pictures. And, you know, that's what it's about for me, is just putting smiles on other people's faces.
Exactly right. And that's exactly where I'm at. When I spent a lot of time, for the last year or so, I spent a lot of time on the streets, and I wanted to be, well, we're both. We're anybody that does that, I lost my train of thought, but we're stewards. We're stewards of Virginia City, and we try to put our best foot forward, and we do. And we know how important it is for the tourist when they come to town to be welcomed, and I know you do that well, and I certainly do that well. And I made it a pledge to go ahead and meet as many people as I possibly can. When I'm there, and of course, spring, summer, and fall is when we have our biggest tourists, and I have absolutely no problem. Well, 20, 30 people a day, that'd be no problem for me. And I know that Wes is out there also because he has the heart for it, and certainly has the personality for it too. And not only that, people levitate to Wes mainly. Well, let's face it, the way he looks, and he has an absolutely great look. And then once you start talking to him, then you fall in love with him. All right. So now that you're meeting all the people up there, but you had to go out there and first buy your outfits and what fit Wes Francis the best.
Oh man, I just kind of traditional Western cowboy look. You know, I don't play the full on dirty, dusty, rolling out in a sagebrush cowboy, and I also don't dress as the businessman in town either. It's kind of a mix of it. Mm-hmm. We realize that some of it you may not have even seen up there in Virginia City very often, but we know that it was part of it. Mm-hmm. And that's what people come up there and relate to is the dress, the long coat, the what we call now today the wild rag, the silk scarf that to most people that's a decoration. But, to a true cowboy, that could mean a lot when you're out there on
a tool
in the snow. And
sure.
Man, that silk really holds the heat around your neck, and you can get it up around your face.
Sure.
And then you get into the styles of the hats, like the one that I'm wearing today, was styled in Nevada. It's called the Nevada Buckaroo, and that's why I wear it. That's been my home forever, and I think it rightfully deserves to be up there and be seen. And but you don't see it a lot, and a lot of people don't know the history behind it.
And you're right.
And that was a Nevada cowboy that was out there riding on the prairie, and the snow kept running off the back of his hat and down his shirt. So he grabbed his hat and pulled it off his head and bent the back of it up so it's all curled up on the back. And now he could tip his head forward and let the snow roll off the front.
The front end. Yep, I love it. Absolutely love it.
So little things like that. I'm taking a lot of time to learn as much as I can.
Yeah.
And, you were talking about Virginia City grabbed you, and I told one of the old timers up there one day, I said, I love Virginia City. I think I found my place. And he looked at me kind of angrily, and he shook
Virginia
his finger
found
at
you.
me,
Yeah.
And he said, son, let me tell you something. You don't choose Virginia City.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Virginia City chooses you.
Exactly.
And I was like, well, okay, does that mean that I don't belong here? And while I'm thinking it, he looked at me and he smiled and he goes, Virginia City's chosen you, son.
Exactly.
And that was, coming from somebody that's been around that town as long as he has, that meant the world to me.
And they're exactly right. And nobody knows that for the most part, and unless you're there, and you are there. And that's exactly, Virginia City invites you in,
Yes.
and once you're in, they're not going to let you go.
That's right.
Not going to let you go. And how wonderful it is for us that does happen. So anyway, along the line, you developed a character, even though you're dressed now and you have this look that you want. Did you have an actual character that you really wanted to be? Do you have an AKA?
I do. Alex Coryell.
Say that again.
Alex Coryell.
Alex Coryell. Okay, I'm not familiar with that name.
He was what they called a watchman.
Okay.
Back in the mid to late 1800s. Which was a Virginia City police officer.
Mm.
And that was my goal when I got up there and started really getting into historically doing stuff, was to find an officer that had given his life in the line of duty in the 1800s and keep his name alive. And thanks to Deke DeMarzo, a great historian in Virginia City, he turned me on to the guy and helped me do research and gave me some of the research that he had already done. And when I started reading about him, I really felt like there was a direct connection. Some people would say maybe that was you before, and you came back at in a different time.
That's right.
He grew up on the East Coast. That's really about the only difference with us. But at a young age, he went in the military, and then when the war started to settle down, he found Virginia City and settled up there, and got out of the military and went into law enforcement.
Yeah, he spent about 35 years.
Almost just like I did.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And the only difference is I'm still alive, and he died in the line of duty. He was walking the borderline.
Oh, okay, your character.
Yes.
I know, you're talking about Zeke. Okay, your character.
He was in the service and then law enforcement, just like I did.
Yeah.
And Virginia City, all along the same lines. He was up there walking a beat with his partner, and they arrested a drunken local that was just causing problems in town, so they took him down and basically put him in the drunk tank for the night. But it turned into two different fights before they got him to the jail. And after they got him in handcuffs, Alex was struck on the bridge of the nose with those big steel handcuffs, which shattered his nose. And unbeknownst to a lot of people, he had a ailment, I guess you would call it, that under severe stress, his throat would swell shut. And with the injury to his face and the stress of the fighting, he got him to the jail, got him booked in, and walked outside and collapsed and died.
That was it. Wow. Yeah, what a history there.
He, another thing that made that final little connection for me was he gave his life in the line of duty in 1891, and I started my law enforcement career 100 years later.
100 years later. Wow. Well, there you go. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. and along the way, you became an ordained minister.
Yes.
And as I am. And what prompted that?
Oh man, it's so much fun. It was a good friend of mine, retired Navy SEAL, that I introduced him to his wife there at the Silver Dollar Saloon in Virginia City, and we went for a motorcycle ride afterwards. And long story short, they ended up getting married. And then on their 5th wedding anniversary, he called me and said, they were living in Texas now at this point. He called me and said, hey, we're going to come back to Virginia City for our anniversary, and I want you to renew our vows. And I said, well, I've never done anything like that before, but it sounds fun. And so I put it together, and the people that were in the room that witnessed it came and asked me for cards afterwards and wanted me to perform their wedding.
There you go.
And so I went and got ordained, and I've got well over 100 weddings under my belt now, and I write every single ceremony from scratch.
Oh, do you? All right, good for you.
There's no
Good.
two the same. I get to know the couple, find out about them and their beliefs and their likes and their dislikes, and I put a ceremony together that makes them laugh and makes them cry, and it's all the above. It's always fun.
It is. And, well, you know, I have probably I'm going to say 24, 25, and most of those were done at the ranch, Triple D Ranch. I built a chapel,
Nice.
and half of those were remarries, and exactly right. I had the best time doing that. Also, it was a lot of fun, and I didn't go to the extent that you did writing. Each I had a basic. The ceremony that was kind of basic, and then I would add to it for their personality and who they were. But no, you're above and beyond. And good for you, because that shows the passion that you do have, and no matter what you do, it seems that you extended yourself on just about everything.
Oh, yeah.
So that I know that was a memorable one. Now give me another memorable wedding ceremony that you.
Oh man, probably just because it was so unique, and I doubt I'll ever do another one like it. Was it was a couple of ladies that decided that they wanted to get married, and they did it as a theme from a TV show. So everybody was dressed up in wild costumes, and we did it in their backyard on some property out here in Nevada, and it was just really fun and unique.
We're out of time. I hate it. All right, we are out of time. And my guest has been Wes Francis, and this has been absolutely exhilarating. I just absolutely loved him as being my guest. And we have to bring him back because we have yet begun. All right, thank you, Wes, for being here today. It was a good show, and I can't wait to put this thing together. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Doc. I appreciate
You're
it.
very welcome. All right, we're out.